Most people think about Singapore's transport system. They picture crowded MRT trains, the latest fare hike, or perhaps the infamous Certificate of Entitlement (COE) prices. But beneath these daily headlines lies a much deeper story, one where transport is not just a public service, but a major fiscal engine for the state. Over decades, Singapore has built a sophisticated system that monetizes almost every aspect of mobility, from vehicle ownership to daily commute. Through mechanisms like COE, vehicle taxes, ERP, and fuel duties, the government collects billions each year. Yet public debate often focuses narrowly on fare increases and cost recovery, rarely questioning where all this money goes or how it shapes policy. Today, we'll explore how Singapore's transport system is designed as a net contributor to public finances, and why this matters for every commuter. Let's break down the layers of Singapore's transport revenues. First, there's the COE system, a tool originally meant to manage traffic but now a multi-billion-dollar revenue stream that fluctuates with the economy. Then come vehicle taxes, registration fees, and recurring road taxes, all adding to the government's coffers year after year. On top of that, ERP charges and petrol duties ensure that every kilometer driven is monetized. Striking is that these inflows are not earmarked solely for transport spending. In fact, in high revenue years, COE alone can outstrip the entire annual cost of public transport subsidies. Meanwhile, fare increases for buses and trains are justified as necessary for cost recovery, even as the system as a whole generates a persistent surplus. This compartmentalized accounting keeps the public focused on fare debates, while the bigger fiscal picture remains largely hidden. Public transport fares in Singapore are set using a formula that considers factors like inflation, wages, and energy costs. But here's the catch. It deliberately excludes the massive revenues from COE, vehicle taxes, ERP, and fuel duties. This means fare hikes are debated as if public transport operates in a financial vacuum, disconnected from the broader transport ecosystem. The result: commuters face regular fare increases, justified by rising operating costs, while the system's overall surplus is rarely discussed. This approach shapes public perception, making fare hikes seem inevitable and necessary, even when the fiscal reality is far more complex. It's a policy choice that prioritizes cost recovery over holistic affordability, and it raises important questions about transparency and equity in how transport is funded. The way Singapore's transport system is financed has real consequences for different groups. Lower-income households, who rely most on public transport, end up spending a larger share of their income on fares, especially as these rise year after year. Meanwhile, wealthier households are better equipped to absorb high COE prices and vehicle taxes or simply choose private transport. The system is efficient, but unless policies are adjusted, it risks being regressive. Circular flow of money, from commuters to operators to state-linked shareholders and back to the state, raises questions about accountability and fairness. Should fare increases be the main tool for financial sustainability, or is there room for a more transparent, equitable approach that recognizes the system-wide surplus? Ultimately, the debate isn't about whether Singapore's transport system is efficient. It clearly is. The real question is whether the current approach to fares and fiscal flows is fair and transparent. The authors argue for a more holistic accounting of all transport-related revenues and expenditures, and for greater public disclosure on how surpluses are used. This would allow for a more informed debate about fare restraint, subsidy models, and redistribution within the system. As Singapore continues to evolve, a mature policy conversation should ask not just if the system works, but who pays, who benefits, and who decides. Only with full transparency can trust between the state and citizens be strengthened, ensuring that mobility remains both efficient and equitable for all.